Hello everybody and welcome back to The Drop and another episode of What Once Was. Before we get into episode 2, I'd just like to thank everybody for the support we've had so far, not only on this channel but also on the podcast too. And if you haven't checked that out yet, we've just released episode 3 with Jack Silkstone, Kieran Adams, Archie Deeves and Ruby Withers, and episode 4 will be up very soon. I'll leave the link to the channel in the description below. For today's episode of What Once Was, we're going to talk about something that kind of nearly was, or is. To start this journey, we're going to have to once again go back to the Alton Towers resort to around the 1992 period. The Two Swords Group had just taken over the Alton Towers resort off its previous owners, John Broome, who had added a few rides and attractions such as the long-serving revolutionary roller coaster at the time, Corkscrew.
Please just let me get out of here!
Along with more quaint attractions such as the swan boats. Two Swords knew that if they wanted to make an impact and attract guests, they'd have to make a massive shake-up to the current lineup of rides and attractions at the resort. With the help of John Wardley, the now retired ride designer and consultant, they hatched a master plan to install several rides to the park in the 1992 season, which they did. The two main rides that opened in 1992 were the Haunted House and the Runaway Mine Train. They also added new paths and vantage points for passers-by to watch River Rapids soak its riders. However, they knew they needed more to really make an impact. In roughly 1992, the owners of the Two Swords Group told John Wardley that they needed a major, hard-hitting thrill ride, or a roller coaster to be specific. Sounds like an easy task. This was not the case. They also stated that they wanted it to be a world's first, failing that, first for Europe. John got to work and started thinking of designs of roller coasters and contacting manufacturers to inquire about any new conceptual prototypes. After much research, John spoke with the now defunct Aerodynamics, who were based in America.
We suspended your disbelief by creating a coaster that suspended its riders from an overhead tract. Our twisted thinking brought you the corkscrew, the boomerang, the bow tie, the butterfly, and the interlocking loop, all of which threw our competition for a loop. We designed and produced many of the original rides at Disneyland. 200 million people ride our rides every year.
They had informed John that they were in fact working on a brand new type of roller coaster.
Aerodynamics. There's too much riding on your new coaster to buy from anyone else.
The Pipeline Coaster.
Corkscrews and loops. But the pipeline is a fiendishly new concept with a whole new level of design challenges.
John did the layout and profile for the Pipeline Coaster in the then-themed Thunder Valley area of the park. The trains for the new Arrow Pipeline Coaster resembled that of a missile or a bullet. John and the team of designers for the project decided on giving the ride a sinister, top-secret military-based feel to the ride. It was going to be called the Secret Weapon. John Wardley rather innocently named the first layout of the coaster SW1, meaning Secret Weapon Drawing Number 1. After doing a layout for this ride and presenting it to the board of directors and Aerodynamics, they needed to make some tweaks to the plans. John quickly rectified the drawing, and with the alterations, SW2 drawing, layout, plans and profile was now complete. Only one thing remained. They needed to try one of these roller coasters out. This can prove quite difficult with the world's first, as quite obviously there are none to try out. Luckily, Aerodynamics had built a short track prototype at their factory in Utah.
In Clearfield, Utah, they are now minutes away from the big test, the first run of the pipeline.
John, along with a few others including the now owner of Merlin Entertainment's Nick Varney, who was marketing director of Two Swords at the time, flew out to Utah to go and ride the prototype.
Go! There it goes! Hooray!
However, this was a disaster. In John's words, he found it to be slow, boring and cumbersome. They had to start from scratch, because this wasn't going to be up to the Two Swords standards, and they knew that would leave the public massively disappointed. Now this would usually be the end of the story, because the Secret Weapon idea was just scrapped. However, with John's innocent labelling of the plans for the first two incarnations of the ride, it carried on. Nemesis eventually got built and opened in 1994, and the project was codenamed Secret Weapon 3. Since then to this day, all but a couple of major coasters in the park have been given their SW codename, with the exception of Rita and Spinball Whizzer, which neither were world's first or Europe's first. It also could have been because of the change of ownership and the owners at the time just not being aware of the tradition. After Nemesis, Oblivion came along in 1998, once again dubbing the codename SW4, Air in 2002 with SW5, 13 in 2010 with SW6, The Smiler in 2013 with SW7, and of course Wickerman in 2018 with SW8. Even though Nemesis and every secret weapon since then has been a fantastic and unique additions to the park, I think enthusiasts like myself can't help but imagine what the original secret weapon ride would have been like and how they would have made it fit the area. However, looking forward into the secret weapon series, it will be interesting to see what the future holds and how they're going to push the boundaries. Wickerman is a unique one of the secret weapon family, as it is not a world's first or Europe's first. This is said to be due to a few reasons, such as new marketing teams not needing the world's first gimmick to sell the ride to the public. And if you'd like to know more about the Wickerman, our good friends over at Park Boys will be releasing a video very soon about this roller coaster, so be sure to go and check that out. This can mean a huge step in the right direction for the resort, focusing on investing more in theming and the ride itself instead of hundreds of hours of research and development creating an entirely new ride system.
Neither on top of nor below the tracks, but between them. And the cars will not just loop, but roll like stunt planes.
A coaster that can go down the track and rotate about this axis at the same time that it's doing all the other things. So,
would the Pipeline roller coaster have been a success? Would it have gripped the nation and changed the industry? We will never know what could have been.
No one knows if the coaster will work, and it's much too chancy to put passengers aboard for the first run.
What do you think Secret Weapon 9 will be? Comment on this video to share your ideas. Thank you once again for watching this episode of What Once Was.